Hello, everybody. This is Giancarlo Aulino, and in this segment, we're going to be talking about all things Serie A. To help us out today, I'm happy to be joined by my guest. He is a contributor to DiMarzio and CloudSports Football, Claudio Perfetto. Welcome to Be on the Game, Claudio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to speaking with you.
How you doing today?
Doing well. It's a crazy day. It's the transfer deadline in Italy, so there's a lot of moves being made. So I'm just trying to follow it all as it happens.
Sounds good. Claudio, as we've both seen this summer, Serie A has gotten a lot of interest in their league after Cristiano Ronaldo decided to leave Real Madrid and sign with Juventus. What are your thoughts on the signing, and how do you feel Ronaldo's presence impacts Serie A?
It's a great signing. It's really something that you probably didn't see coming just a couple of months ago towards the end of the season. I mean, he made some remarks that he wanted to leave Real Madrid after the Champions League final, but it's kind of been going on with him year after year where he's mentioned things like that, and nothing concrete has ever really come of it. But this season, obviously that changed. Juventus was very interested in signing him, and it was a great transfer that they were able to pull off. And for Serie A, it's a huge impact. You could just see already in terms of revenue and attention what the league is getting from having Ronaldo, and then also the other teams have really stepped up and signed big players themselves, because now they know that Juventus, who was already far ahead of them, got even further ahead, so they all have to catch up. So it's been nothing but a positive impact so far having him in Italy.
Yeah, and Juve signing Ronaldo now has many members of the media and fans considering them as favorites to win the UEFA Champions League this season. They signed Emre Can, Cancelo, and brought back Bonucci in the player swap with AC Milan as well. With that in mind, what tactics or formations do you think Max Allegri will maybe lean towards this season?
Yeah, so he's been very flexible with Juventus. They've done everything from a 4-2-3-1 to 4-3-3 to 3 at the back. The additions that they've made give them a lot of flexibility. Ronaldo will be probably that primary striker you'll see up top, but then as far as the other attackers like Dybala, Douglas Costa, Mandzukic, Bernardeschi, they have a lot of flexibility. Cuadrado even. They have players that could play centrally, play on the wings. Cancelo also is a player who could be a right back in a four-man defense, but he could also play as a wing back if you move to a three-man. Bringing Bonucci back obviously allows you to go back to a three-man defense with Bonucci, Barzagli, and Chiellini, something that they did a lot in the past season. So it's very hard to pin Allegri down in terms of what he'll be doing, because he does change a lot and he changes his formation based on the opponent. I personally think their strongest tactic would be a 4-3-3, where they play with the four-man defense, and then up top they have Douglas Costa, Ronaldo, and Dybala. I think that, along with the midfield of Pjanic and Emre Can, and even maybe a Bentancur in there would give them their most talented lineup. But we're going to see them do a lot of different things this season. It's just Allegri's DNA to hide his tactics and switch them based on who Juventus is playing.
For those just joining us on Vibe 105, this is Giancarlo Aulino of Beyond the Game speaking with DiMarzio and CloudSports Football contributor Claudio Perfetto. Now, Claudio, I've seen on your Twitter that you're a Milanista, so I'm going to shift focus to the two Milan clubs in Serie A. And, as mentioned earlier in that player swap with Juve, AC Milan acquired Caldera and Gonzalo Higuain, and Inter, on the other hand, made some strong additions by bringing De Vrij from Lazio and Nainggolan from Roma. In your opinion, do you see AC Milan or Inter challenging for the Scudetto this season, or are they maybe a year or two away from being a real contender in Serie A?
Inter is further ahead than Milan is at this point. Like you said, a couple of them, De Vrij and Nainggolan, those were great signings. They made even more. They took Asamoah from Juventus They signed Versalco, who had a great World Cup with Croatia and played for Atletico Madrid. They also signed Lautaro Martinez, who is a great Argentine prospect who has done great in the preseason. Looks like he's really forming a strong partnership with Mauro Icardi. Then they also signed Keita, who used to play for Lazio and spent last season in Monaco, who was a great Serie A player. They have a lot of flexibility. They have depth now, something that Coach Spalletti really, really likes. So I could see them challenging. I think Juventus still has too much, unless Juventus really gets caught up in the Champions League and focuses on that. But Juventus' team is just so deep that I can't really see anybody overtaking them this year. But Inter definitely has the best shot. I think they're actually the second best team in Serie A. You never know with them. They brought in a lot of signings in the past, and it hasn't really panned out. But they have a very good coach with a good reputation, and these signings are particularly players that know Serie A very well. So I could see Inter challenging and finishing in second. As far as Milan, they hired Leonardo and Maldini after Elliott took over from Young Hung Lee, the Chinese owner, and they had a real turnaround this summer. They went into it with a lot of speculation over the owner and finances. It didn't look like they were going to be able to make any signings because UEFA actually banned them from the Europa League. Once Elliott took over, there was a complete 180. They started heading in a different direction. They signed Leonardo and Maldini, who've done a great job. They brought in Higuain, even though there was Bonucci. He didn't want to be there anymore, and Higuain is a player that they need much more than Bonucci because Milan hasn't had a striker of Higuain's caliber, someone who can go out and get over 20 goals since Ibrahimovic, really, 6 or 7 years ago. So that was a very important signing for them, and then they also were able to get Calzada back for Bonucci, which was huge because Calzada makes a little more sense for Milan right now because they're a team that's in transition, that has Romagnoli and a young Italian defense that he could partner with. So that was a great move. And then they took a couple of other good players, like Bakayoko, who was great for Monaco. Didn't have a great season at Chelsea, but they got him on a loan with an option to purchase. So that's a good move for the midfield because he gives them a little flexibility in the midfield. And two other players that they just signed, Laxalt and Castillejo. Laxalt is a very good Serie A player, had a great World Cup for Uruguay. He gives them, a little depth on the left side, at the left back and left wing position. And Castillejo is a little bit of a chance that they're taking. He was a good player in Spain. A lot of reports say he hasn't really lived up to his potential, but maybe they're hoping that they get the best out of him. So both Milan teams have made good moves in their given their circumstances this transfer session, and right now Inter for me is the better of the two. But you never know. Milan, they're a younger team. They have a little bit more experience this year. They've made some smart signings. They're two teams that I think Serie A really, really needs back at the top and competing in the Champions League every year. So this coupled with the Ronaldo signing are all positive signs for the league.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And a positive for Serie A was their TV rights deal that they signed with ESPN in the States. But here in Canada, it was recently announced that the sports streaming service DAZN will have the exclusive rights to Serie A and the UEFA Champions League. This is a different way of consuming sports, and not everybody may be willing to spend that amount of money on Serie A. Do you think that DAZN will have a negative impact on Serie A maximizing its appeal in Canada?
Well, it's tough for me to say because I'm based in the States, but, as far as the appeal of the league, I think any kind of subscription that, even though it's paid, if they're streaming all of the games and it's easy to sign up and watch. Now, the older folks, unfortunately, are going to have a harder time, people that are fans that like to sit on their couch and just watch the games on TV. They don't want to deal with apps and streaming and this and that and the other thing. It might be a little bit more difficult for them, but for the younger crowd that, especially here in the United States, that are watching the Premier League right now and those types of leagues, this is it's a good thing for them because they're used to the streaming and it gives them the ability to watch all of the games. Whereas last year, here in the States at least, it was beIN Sports had Serie A rights, and even though the coverage was decent, it wasn't great. They showed a lot of La Liga over Serie A. Not all the games were being streamed, even though they had an app. The app wasn't great. ESPN Plus is going to be a very, very positive thing for the league here in the States. So it's just a different way of watching the game. But, I think you would just say it's $20 a month. That's a little steep maybe for someone who's just trying to get into the league. Obviously, fans that are set in stone, that love the league and follow it already, are going to pay whatever it takes to watch. But that might be a little bit too much of a burden for a fan who, is just trying to get into Serie A to pay, unless they are able to watch some games for free somehow, and then they grow their following. But yeah, it could be a little bit damaging.
Now, Claudio, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about the Italian national team. And, in this past World Cup, Italy failed to qualify under Gianpiero Ventura. And during that qualifying campaign, there were many reports that he wasn't too impressed with Major League Soccer. And from where we are in North America, Sebastian Giovinco has been incredible in Major League Soccer, scoring important goals, creating opportunities for his teammates. Now under Roberto Mancini, a new coach who may be different style, different tactics than Ventura, what do you feel Giovinco might need to do if he wants to be called up to the Italian national team?
Well, it's interesting. I wrote an article probably last October, so right before the playoffs that happened with Italy against Sweden, about Giovinco, because I agree with you. Giovinco's been great for Toronto FC. He's been dominant in the MLS. He's had a great career here. The problem is with the Italian national team coaches, they don't really have a way of judging Giovinco's performance, because if he's playing in Italy, even if he's playing for a lower team, not the Juventus, maybe a mid-table team like an Udinese or a Genoa or an Atalanta, he's still competing against the top teams in Italy, so that the coaches are able to judge him more fairly. Here, I don't think they're able to decipher the talent level of the MLS, so that gives him a very an unfair position. And what I thought he should do, if Italy made the World Cup, they didn't, but I thought that if Italy did qualify the World Cup, one way that he could get into the World Cup squad, and this also applies for the future, is if he does one of those loan deals. I know it wouldn't help Toronto FC, but if he did a loan from January to June, let's say, in Italy on an Italian team, and he could showcase that he could keep that same form that he shows in the MLS in Italy, I think that would be a great way for him to get into the national team again. And I also think that it wouldn't really affect him or Toronto FC too much, because I know they're struggling a little bit this year, but they're usually one of the best teams in the MLS. So maybe they would be able to go those March through June months without him and stay afloat and then have him back in July for the stretch run of the MLS season. But I think as long as he stays in the MLS and only plays in the MLS, it's going to be very difficult. I don't see Mancini changing his mind or bringing Giovinco on board, just because there's so much young Italian attacking options in the league that play in Italy, or even a Balotelli who plays in France. There's a couple that play in England, and it's hard for them to call Giovinco in from the MLS when they know that the talent isn't on par with those leagues. So my advice to him would be that to maybe take a loan deal and show that he could do it in Italy for a few months.
Before we wrap up here, Claudio, and let you go, how can our listeners follow you on social media?
Yeah, so the best place to follow me is on Twitter. My handle is @cperfetto11. And from there, like you said before, I write for DiMarzio, I write for CloudSports, I write for Euro Fantasy League, which is a fantasy website. So I write for a few different outlets, SemperMilan.com also. And if you just go to my Twitter handle, you'll be able to see all of the stuff that I write there, because that's where I post it, and that's the one place where it's centrally located. So that's the best place to follow me.
Well, Claudio, I'd like to thank you for sharing your time and coming on Beyond the Game to talk Serie A with me, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it, and I enjoyed doing it. So, I look forward to doing it again in the future.
Thanks a lot. That was Serie A writer and contributor to DiMarzio and CloudSports Football, Claudio Perfetto. Now, we're going to send it back to the studio for more Beyond the Game right here on Vibe 105.
This is Claudio Perfetto, and you're listening to Beyond the Game.
Why now? Why Juventus? Well, they're the biggest club that were available. It's a significant financial outlay.
For me, it's another challenge. I love challenge. It will be tough, I know that, but I will be ready. Juve is ready. I will be ready. I will be there.
By Ronaldo! He is a sensation!
As I said before, I'm looking forward to start the league and try to win every title.
Beyond the Game, your main source, Vibe 105.